Federal government has commended the United States for approving an emergency humanitarian waiver that allows people living with HIV to continue accessing treatment funded by the U.S. government across 55 countries, including Nigeria. A statement signed by the head of public relations and protocol of the National Agency for the Control of AIDS appreciated the U.S. government waiver, noting it was mindful of the potential change to foreign aid in the near future. The U.S. Department of State recently announced a 90-day funding freeze for all foreign assistance, including for funding and services emergency plan for AIDS relief, the world's leading HIV initiative. But the joint United Nations program on HIV/AIDS on Wednesday stated that the U.S. government approved a waiver that allows people living with HIV to continue accessing treatment. And now to discuss this, we're joined by Executive Director, Not Too Young to Lead Initiative, Elvis Akpobi. Elvis, thanks for joining us. I mean, what was your first reaction when you heard about the pause on foreign aid to Nigeria and other African countries by the U.S. government, particularly with the HIV program?
Okay, for that of the HIV, out of empathy, I felt bad. But for me, if you agree with me that the recent policies from the newly sworn-in president of U.S. president it should make African government, mostly Nigeria, look inward. Mostly because the moment you are over-dependent on something, the moment you keep your begging bowl keeps adding up, that person have influence in whatever you do. Oftentimes you notice that we see validation we take solace in the Western world, mostly the US. And Donald Trump is here to make his own policies. It's his country, it's his government. I'm not sure it's someone that would really want to, like, how would this thing affect his country? If you check his slogan, is let's make America great again. If cutting costs and the expenses of America will make Nigeria great, and it will affect Nigeria, it's a win-win for the American people, and it's a wake-up call for us as Africans and as Nigeria. So for me, we shouldn't be celebrating exemption and of the president's policy, but we should sit back and ask ourselves. We have researchers. These are not humans that are doing all this drug research and all that. We have them, a lot of them in Nigeria. How often do we support them? Do we make policies that we enhance what they are doing? So I think it's time the presidents and every other policymaker sit up to know that to prepare for the task ahead.
Right. I mean, you just talked about Nigeria's dependency on foreign aid, and also the greater part of Africa as well. There's a dependency on foreign aid. So what is its impact when it comes to broader developmental goals for Nigeria? There's still that to be talked about, because when it comes to when they pause on this grants and this aid, it sort of halts our collective developmental goals, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. But how often, how long are we going to keep asking for aid? Our begging bowl is leaking at the moment. And I think everything US have achieved today was made by citizens of America. And I think everything we'll achieve between now and the next decade will be made by citizens of Nigeria. So if you think cases of one of the policies said that they want to start selling their crude oil, and you agree with me that the budget for this year, the proposed budget says that they will make sales of 87 trillion naira from crude oil, which will determine how we will grow. So for me, I think it's time they started thinking differently, because once the US comes on board, Nigeria already has a new competitor in the oil market. Let's not forget too that we have some countries who used to be a great site like Rwanda, who now seem to be the greatest tourist destination. And they're doing well. Their economy has grown up. Their IT space is very, very secure. So if the likes of Paul Kagame can grow Rwanda from a graveyard to a gold mine, I think President Ahmed Tinubu should start thinking differently. And I want to urge every citizen to support the president, because I know leadership is not an easy task, and we can get it right, and we can stop being dependent on these aids and all that.
Right. I mean, there's still one part to look at, which is our economy, right? You talked about, the crude oil prices and how he's asked OPEC to reduce their price, and the U.S. is going to start selling their crude oil. We've seen this. He did this 4 years ago. He's going to do it again. But one thing is certain: we have to talk about the potential long-term implications of this decision on Nigeria's bilateral relationship with the United States, particularly in areas like whether security, cooperation, trade, and even governance reforms. And we also saw Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, who's the DG for the World Trade Organization, about this sanctions and tariff and whatnot. With this pause on foreign assistance and aid to a country like Nigeria, how do you see it having any impact with our bilateral bilateral ties with the U.S.?
Yeah, I think it will. I think it will have an impact on bilateral ties. But impacts like that, what comes to mind is who is going to bear the burden, and oftentimes you find out that it's mostly countries like ours that brings nothing to the table that will bear the burden because we are over-dependent on. We seek solace, we seek validation in what the U.S. do. Oftentimes you find that you agree with me that our greatest potentials, which is young Nigerians, they are waiting to be harnessed and developed, but the policies of our government today doesn't seem to, gravitate towards that direction. So for me, it's like I said before, now it's time for the president and his team to sit down and make policies that will put us on the right track. Mostly with creating a 10-year plan for us, because we don't know the next policy, the next executive order President Donald Trump will sign again that will affect the well-being and the welfare of Nigeria and how we'll navigate, which for me is not so good.
I mean, foreign assistance often plays a crucial role in Nigeria's economy. What are the anticipated short-term and long-term effects of the pause reversal on key sectors, particularly healthcare, most importantly healthcare? I mean, it goes without saying.
I'll give you an example. The US aid has, I was meant to understand that, has contributed over how many $1 million to Nigeria in the past, in the last few years. And they have one way or the other helped NGOs, different NGOs who are playing pivotal roles across the country to, make their initiatives, their concepts not become a reality. So should we go in this trajectory, should this cutoff of aid and all that continue, it will affect mostly NGOs and most of our intervention programs as Nigerians. So, like I said before, I think it's just for us to look for another route, an alternative route to solve all these problems, because the President Donald Trump, I see, is not someone that seems very, very flexible. So I want to reappeal that we should stop seeking validation in the Western world. And celebrating this exemption for me is nothing. Let's sit back. Let's make research. We have good medical students in Nigeria. Let's make research on to how to create antidotes against this virus. I think if we focus inward, we'll get it right, and we'll stop seeking for foreign aids.
Well, only time will tell. Elvis, many thanks for doing this with us. Elvis Akpobi there, one of the director for Not Too Young to Lead initiative.